Chelsea slipped to 12th after suffering 4 successive defeats, but Drake's belief in the unlikely team he'd assembled wasn't shaken. He was justified by an away victory over champions Wolves. Chelsea returned to the Bridge for a prestige friendly against Red Banner. Hungary's footballers were the yardstick of the 50s.
Outside right, Sandoy is there to take the pass. A centre finds Hiddy Kuti, who heads it home. Red Banner went up in the 19th minute. The centre to Bentley, who heads it to Stubbs, and there's Chelsea's first. 1-1 now, and Chelsea are off again with Blunstone in the picture once more. McNichol takes the centre. Bentley shoots, and it's a goal. Red Banner take control for most of the second half, and here they go on the raid that leads to the equalising goal. Pelotas is the man who makes it 2-2, a fair result to a close contest.
In the league, Wolves, Portsmouth, Sunderland, the 2 Manchester clubs, Aston Villa, all had hopes of the title. Chelsea edged upwards, a couple of wins here, a draw there, keeping their nerve after a setback. Prospects looked hopeful, but the champions still had to come to Stamford Bridge. 75,000 saw them.
Just imagine to beat Wolves to win the championship, or the setting to win the championship. And Wolves were a great side in those days. And great match. It was a great match. And we had an amateur playing for us, Seamus O'Connell, and he fired this ball in the net. I thought, God almighty, it's in. And Billy Wright dived and punched it over the bar. Never forget that, and it was done so neatly that I wondered, had the ref seen it? But there was the linesman with his flag up. And as arranged before the game, Peter Sillett was to take all penalties. And Peter striding up towards the penalty spot when he looked across at me, and I was in the... and he read my mind, I know he did, and Peter crashed it past the goalkeeper, and that more or less won the championship for us, yes.
But with 3 games to play, Wolves or Portsmouth could have stolen the title. Chelsea went to Fratton Park, never a soft touch. O'Connell couldn't play. He was at Wembley with Bishop Auckland winning the Amateur Cup. The skimpiest of offsides denied Chelsea a goal. It was 0-0. 1 win would do it. Sheffield Wednesday came to the Bridge already relegated, a sacrificial offering to celebrate Chelsea's first ever championship in their Jubilee year.
Remember those jokes about the pensioners? No more of those now. Watch those boys go. The first one comes from Parsons' head. And doesn't that head get a ruffling by his jubilant teammates? A penalty goal by Sillett. A third goal by Parsons soon after, and it's all over.
50 years on, Stamford Bridge at last had a centrepiece for the frame designed by Gus Mears. And that wasn't all. That season, the reserves, the A-team and the juniors all won their respective league titles.
Well, on behalf of the boys, I want to say thank you. There's no need to tell you how pleased we are to win the championship, but we're pleased for you, because you've been behind us in other years, and more so this year. So again, from the bottom of our hearts, I say thank you very much. Happiest moment of my life. I was asked, would we win the cup? And I thought we might, but I thought we had a great chance of winning the championship even better.
I was delighted. I was delighted for everybody, of course, down there. I would have given my right arm to have won something for Chelsea, and I achieved it. I was so pleased for one bunch, and that was the players. Yeah. This little Eric Parsons, he was a diamond of a boy. He got some stick from the crowd. In fact, they would call him Rabbit. John McNichol, he served me well at inside forward.
Johnny McNichol scores the equaliser.
Roy Bentley. There weren't many better centre forwards than Roy. He thought I was crazy that we could win the championship. Possibly the cheapest buy in life, I should think, was Frankie Blunstone from the Queen.
Blunstone going through on his own. And it's a great goal.
Fans celebrated not just the achievement, but the expectation of more of the same. But the 54-55 team was a one-off. They'd given everything, probably outreached themselves in one supreme, sustained effort. By the start of the following season, Willemse, Parsons, Bentley and Armstrong were all 30, McNichol 29, John Harris at 37, virtually at the end of his playing career. Youth was still represented by Blunston, and he was joined by 21-year-old Bobby Smith and by Ron Tyndall, barely 20. But the magic had gone. Chelsea finished 16th. Roy Bentley was leading scorer for the 8th successive season. Of all the Chelsea strikers, few were more successful, none more durable. Bentley's boots didn't stay empty for long. A young man from East London, bursting with talent, had been attracting television cameras even before he appeared in the first team. And no wonder. In his last season before signing full professional forms, he scored more than 100 goals. His name was Jimmy Greaves. It first appeared on the programme for a league fixture in August 1957. The game was against Tottenham Hotspur. The goal he scored was the introduction to a career without parallel in modern football.
Cross to Greaves. And it's a goal! Yes, Greaves has scored! And so, young Jimmy Greaves keeps up his fantastic record of a goal a game in his Football League career. Looking it forward now to Jimmy Greaves. Greaves going through on his own. And he scores! Yes.
This was one of 3 occasions when Greaves scored 5 in a match for Chelsea, and Wolves were on their way to becoming champions. At the age of 18, Greaves had already won his first England caps. He was an international star, a family man with a house that proclaimed his allegiance. The goals came in seemingly endless profusion. At home, the trophies and mementos multiplied in proportion.
Here come Chelsea on the attack again. Brooks getting it out to Blunstone. Blunstone back to Greaves, who's hanging back very well. It's a chance for a Greaves shot. That's Cameron, number 11. Chelsea forwards crowding into the middle as Greaves trying to work into a shooting position. A great goal!
But, like Love in the Song, this affair was too hot not to cool down. In April '61, Jimmy Greaves was captain for the day in his final game before leaving for Italy.
He came here to Chelsea 4 years ago in 1957 as a 17-year-old, and he'd scored 100 goals for them before he was 21. Wolves, Preston North End, West Bromwich Albion will all remember the 5 goals that he scored against them in a match. Blunstone, Greaves in the middle, says Braybrook. Greaves gets his hit. There's a great goal from Greaves. Braybrook. Oh! What a tremendous cracker of a shot. And Greaves is there. Greaves to Blunstone. Blunstone, this running ball sideways. Greaves! Oh, and a hat-trick for Greaves in his last appearance. One wonders with some desperation what Chelsea will do without him next year.
Greaves signed off with 4 goals. His season's total was 41, a club record. When he disappeared into the tunnel, the fans felt almost as though they'd seen a mirage, shimmering and exciting, but too good to be true. The figures, though, didn't lie. The end of the Greaves era began the end of the Drake era. Ted had become the first man to win the league championship as a player and as a manager. His place of honour at Stamford Bridge will always be as the man who gave Chelsea the prize that had been coveted for half a century.
Right lads, we're going to demonstrate the throw-in, so make sure and practice this movement that both your hands are cupped behind the ball, both feet on the ground, behind the line. The ball must be propelled from behind the head onto the field of play to one of your inside forwards. So now, from now, let's go onto the field and we'll practice this. Come on now.
Tommy Docherty had arrived as player-coach in February 1961. When Drake was sacked the following September, Docherty, aged 32 and with no managerial experience at all, was put in charge.
Well, of course, I was coach. One day I was Tom, the next day I was boss. And I repeatedly rang up Mark Busby, Don Ravey, Joe Mercer, Bill Nick, Tottenham. If I was in a quandary at any time or then little problems, they were all very, very helpful to me. So really I was thrown in at the deep end. It was a case of sink or swim, and I had to learn very, very quickly.
You sold a lot of players.
Yeah, I sold a lot and we gave a lot away as well because they weren't good enough. And really that's basically what was wrong. It was a team getting old together and they needed replacing. And we had the team at the Bridge. We had a lot of kids at the Bridge at the time just waiting to get bursting to get into the first team.
When Chelsea were relegated, the young manager threw his young players into a bold bid to make instant recompense.
That's a lovely centre now. Can Bridges get a shot in? And that's the first goal.
In their penultimate match at Sunderland, Tommy Harmer scored his only goal for Chelsea, but promotion was still in the balance. It all came right at home to Portsmouth. Chelsea won 7-0, goal average mathematics did the rest. Docherty's judgment of young potential was totally vindicated.
I brought Venables in, Harris of course, and his brother Alan, a lad called Butler, Bert Murray, Barry Bridges. And I realised that I had to get a breath of fresh air into the club by bringing the kids through and give them a chance. But I'd like to emphasise that I didn't bring any of the kids there. Dickie Foss, who was a youth team coach, him and Jimmy Thompson, the scout, they brought them all there. And a lad called Wolf Chitty, who used to scout for as well. They were responsible for bringing those players there. I was only responsible for giving them an early opportunity.
Among the new constellation, Bobby Tambling was one of the brightest. The way he'd taken on the Greaves role had won him 2 England caps while he was still a second division player. This goal was in his second international against France. Chelsea now were more than just a bunch of precocious teenagers.